Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. And today we're going to talk about demons. I'm a counselor, so you're going to get a clinical perspective on this. Look, do a simple Google search. Do a simple search on YouTube. Do a simple search on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and you're going to quickly discover something. If you put in the word demon, you're going to get things coming back with millions of hits, millions of views, like a lot, folks. Every time that we have used the word demons in a podcast, thousands. I got to wondering, what in the world is all this about? And what are the psychological impacts of this? So your tip of the day is pretty simple. Knowledge is great, but it has limitations. That's your tip of the day. Knowledge is great, but it has limitations. Understand those limitations, folks. Understand them. We cannot think our way through everything. It just can't be done. There's in a broader picture from a psychological lens, there is the interaction with the world around us, where the world smacks into us, we smack into the world, and at that moment, it creates a feeling, emotion. We've got five senses. One of those senses, or many of those senses, pick up information. Then we go into the thinking process. The thinking is about the emotion or the feeling. It's also about the issue where the world smacked into us. It's also about our history, our patterns, our past patterns. Okay. Then we can make a decision that is informed, right? The feelings are just information. They're just information. I know we attribute a lot more to them sometimes, but that's what it is. The feeling itself isn't good or bad. Now, why did I give you this? Because what we're experiencing, I think, in this whole demons conversation is people getting caught up in what we don't know. And let's be real, folks, you know far less than you pretend to. You also know far less than you could actually attain if you were here eternally. You don't know that much. Neither do I. It's not a ding on you. We just don't have the capacity to understand that far out. We try. And if we spend our entire lives studying psychology, sociology, and culture, we might know 1/1 billionth of a percent of what there is to know. And I'm probably not exaggerating. Like, there's no data on this because it would be impossible, because as time goes on, it's almost infinite. So check this out, folks. This is not too hard. Well, maybe it is. I mean, we are talking demons. I pose a few questions here, and I want to sort of vet out. Number one, is the internet pushing demon conversation? Number two, what's the fascination that people have with demons? What's that all about? Number three, is fear part of the equation? And number four, is curiosity part of the equation? So let's go way back, way back. For those of you who are familiar with some of these stories that of biblical time, whether you believe in Christianity or not, the stories that came through the biblical literature, if you are not a Christian, the biblical literature, have been verified over and over and over to be factual. You go ahead and you can do your research on that, but people have tried to refute them. People have dismissed them for no other reason than they just don't like it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot a lot of factual information in there. And so check this out. Near the beginning, there was a tree. The story goes. There's a tree. The tree was if you ate the fruit of that tree, you would have the knowledge of good and evil. There was a serpent who led a woman and a man, essentially through the woman, to eat the fruit. They were curious and they didn't fear. They were curious about the fruit because it looked good. And the serpent said it was okay. And they didn't fear the fruit. Which, when you translate this, it essentially means there was a moment in time where people had a choice to make between following the Creator and exploring their curiosities. And they chose to explore their curiosities. So when we look at the questions that I posed to you, and I'm going to get to some psychological impacts of all this here in a couple of minutes as well. But when we look at the questions I posed to you, is fear part of it? Not really. It's the absence of fear that becomes part of the equation. So wait a second. What does that mean? Should we be afraid? It does mean that we should have fear. Our fear should be directional. It should be in the disappointing of the Creator, according to this story, right? Curiosity. We are very curious people. I encourage, as a therapist, I encourage people to be curious because from curiosity, we can learn stuff. But remember the tip of the day, knowledge is great, but it has limitations. Got to understand there's limitations to it. So now we enter, what are the limitations to knowledge? Spirits, demons, angels. We can't access demons and angels in quite the same way that we access other people. We can go to our neighbor, we can knock on the door, they can let us in, and we can say, hey, how's it going today? And we can have that interaction. But demons, angels, require a different approach. First, they require belief. So if you're not spiritual, then you aren't going to be able to access demons and angels. It's that simple. You don't believe you can, you won't. So that's part of an issue with demons. People are curious because they're like, wait a minute, is this real? And if you explore that, then you open up the opportunity to access demons and angels. It's been happening for thousands of years, folks. This isn't new. Okay. So fear, or the absence of fear, is absolutely part of it. Curiosity is absolutely part of it. Now back to the question. What's the fascination about? I've been answering that too. The fascination is, can we know something that's unknown? The key there is faith. Whether you're following demons or you're following angels, the key element still remains faith. You have to believe first, and then you can find out. Okay. The last question, or the first question that I posed is the internet pushing demon conversation? I don't know factually the answer to that. I'm a therapist. There's no research that I can find about the internet pushing it. I do find it very interesting that whenever you mention demons, oh, and we will be watching the data on this particular podcast. Whenever you mention demons, it seems like things percolate. They rise to the surface. They hit on more people's stuff. Now, I don't know if that means the internet is pushing it, but I also wouldn't put it beyond the algorithms. If you believe in angels and demons, I would even suggest to you that deceit the devious nature of the devil would absolutely use that tool. Why wouldn't it be a tool to encourage evil to spread? Of course it would. Does that mean that, it's the only tool? Absolutely not. And could the tool be used for good? Absolutely. Is it? Oftentimes, yeah. Absolutely. Interesting enough, I just thought about this. I'm gonna write down a note. I did not look at any basic content for angels, and I wonder if it would be the same thing. I'll do that later, but I want to move into the psychological impacts of this conversation today. The psychological impacts. We know that mystery is enticing, the unknown. We have been historically adventurers from the beginning of time. We do it now. We often do it through the internet. Before, we did it through going on ships, or going in airplanes, or before that, maybe even going by foot or horse, making friends with animals. The mystery of, like, can they think with us? Can we bond with them? So there's a lot of psychological impacts when it comes to the mystery. By nature, by design, we are relational. We want to connect. So anytime there's a mystery, we want to look and see if there's a connection. So the psychological impacts of demons is that curiosity to connect. Can we connect? The same would be true, I would presume, with angels. Can we connect? The second thing I want to hit there is a little bit more intense. Freedom. You and me often feel responsible for our actions, for our thoughts, for our feelings. We feel responsible. But what if I could tell you that you're not responsible? That I could give you the freedom of not having any responsibility? Would that be exciting to you? I'm betting for a good chunk of you out there, you're like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be a relief? I wouldn't have to worry about my debt. I'm not responsible. I wouldn't have to worry about my friends. I'm not responsible. I wouldn't have to worry about my family because I'm not responsible. And I would suggest to you that many people are enticed by what looks like the freedom from responsibility. And yet it comes with an ultimate responsibility. If a demon were, say, to possess you, then what is your responsibility there? See, it creates this perception of freedom. But in reality, the decisions you made leading up to it, and I've done this one before. You can go back and watch my previous podcast from, I don't know, months and months ago about, there was a movie called Nefarious. And I did a couple of podcasts on it. There's decision points leading up to where if we fall for the deception and we make a choice, and then we fall for the deception and we make a choice, and then we fall for a deception, ultimately, you are responsible, but you go into it believing you're not. And that's the ultimate deception. Whoa. Think about what that does to you psychologically. It gives you the perception that you are like godlike. You can do whatever you want. And there's no real accountability. Why? Because it's not me. It's not actually me. But that's wild, folks. And a lot of people are enticed by that. And what I would suggest is the flip side of that. Ultimate responsibility. In other words, what you say, what you think, what you feel, what you do, all of it matters, right? What you feel, you can't control, but what you can control is your expression of feeling. Ooh, that was deep, folks. I hope you're paying attention. What you feel, you can't control. What you can control is your expression of feeling. Why? Because it filters through thought and hopefully through morality. And see, this is where a lot of this curiosity around demons comes from. Is as we start digging into this, it gets really, really like we wrestle with our own identity when we start talking about demons and angels. By no means did I explain everything about demons here, not even close. But partly I'm doing two things. One, I'm setting up a conversation in hopes that you will engage, not because I need clicks or want clicks. Most of you who know me personally that listen, that follow along, most of you understand I didn't get into this for the money because I don't make money on this. I got into this to help people with things that they're wrestling with. But the other reason that I'm doing this, if I'm being really honest, is I'm testing the algorithm. I kind of want to see if just having a basic conversation about demons makes it hit and hit hard. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen. So I have done this before. They've hit. I'm going to do it again, only I'm not going to use the videos that I've used in the past. I purposely left out videos about demons because in the past I did that. And I don't know if that's the reason that they hit. We're about to find out, folks. Come along for the journey. I hope this was thought-provoking, and I hope you walk away with at least something to think about that you can respond to. Join in the conversation. Hey, we're on YouTube, Rumble. We're on all the different podcast platforms. Join us and ask questions and post questions or comments. Like, engage in this. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.